series is even at 1 game apiece after the Houston Rockets walloped the Golden State Warriors 109-94 last night. Hello and welcome aboard the Paul Gallant Show. As voice guy himself said, the most interactive sports talk show in Houston on a wonderful Thursday, April 24th of 2025. Lots of fun things to discuss today. The Houston Astros got their first sweep of the year, second place in the AL West. The Houston Texans have the 25th overall pick in tonight's NFL draft. The first round kicks off in a couple of hours, but we're going to talk a lot today about what the Houston Rockets did against the Golden State Warriors. And there's lots of things to dive into. For example, what is this series going forward with Jimmy Butler getting his pelvis contused? Pelvic contusion. That sounds painful. How much of an a-hole is Draymond Green? Lots of things to dive into, but I think we got to start by talking about perhaps the most criticized Houston Rocket of the Ime Udoka era and hell of the Stephen Silas era. I'm, of course, talking about Jalen Green, who followed up a very poor 7-point, 0 for 4 from outside, 3 for 15 performance in Game 1 against the Warriors with the most confident of confident games you'll ever see from a guy who stunk the game before. 13 of 25 from the field, 8 of 18 from downtown, 38 points. When we were talking about Game 1 on Monday, I felt that Green's game wasn't as bad as the stat sheet indicated. I thought that he was engaged. He just wasn't scoring. He was getting bad luck on a bunch of shots he was taking that were fairly contested, but the ball was hitting the iron and just wasn't going in. He was getting bad luck there, and I think he felt the same way because he kept chucking and chucking and chucking. And in a game where Thompson was in foul trouble early with three in the first quarter, where Dillon Brooks was in foul trouble early, where Alperen Sengun was in foul trouble early, the Rockets needed somebody to step up and carry them on their back. And while Tari Eason was the Robin to Jalen Green's Batman last night, and he threw a towel, which is hilarious, Jalen Green in last night's game took over in a way that makes you wonder if this is something that can happen again. And that's the question I have for you at 713-780-3776 to call, to text, on YouTube at ESPN Houston, on Twitch at ESPN 975. After the game, Jalen Green talked about the difference for him between game number 1 and game number 2.
It was more so mindset. But yeah, that first game, the lights were bright, the crowd was here, the court looked huge. So yeah, I couldn't really get a chance to, settle in. My legs were a little shaky, but that's part of it. Went through it, and I feel like I did a good job answering back.
Yeah, I'll say it was a hell of a performance. I could have seen 25 points coming. 38. Didn't see that coming. It's really interesting looking at Jalen Green going forward and wondering whether or not this is something he can do again. He's probably going to have to do it again to win this series. I know that Jimmy Butler is injured. His status is up in the air. I imagine he will be back in this series, especially since there's a couple of days between last night's game and Game 3 on Saturday night. I imagine Butler, who is a tough SOB, who's going to want to get out there to play in the playoffs, especially now that he's playing with Steph Curry, who he constantly calls Batman, he's going to want to get back out there. So I still think that this series has some serious legs. And even if Butler's not out there, I think the Warriors are going to be competitive. I have a great deal of respect for them, for Steph Curry, and for what Draymond Green does, if not actual respect for Draymond. So there's probably going to be a game where Jalen Green has to do this again. Can he? There's been an interesting development online as among Rockets fans because a lot of people believe that Green's performance last night, 38 points scored, is a referendum on all those who have ever doubted Jalen Green. And I think we got to look at this honestly, right? We can't say that one game from Jalen Green means that he's going to be going forward a consistent player night to night. We can't say that yet. I think you can give him a lot of credit. I think people that have said he sucks, he's a bum, yeah, they need to apologize. But when we look at Jalen Green, this has to happen again, B-Mac, behind the glass and for Sean.
Yeah, because the referendum on Jalen hasn't been that he just sucks, like he's a bum and he can never have these big games. It's that he's not consistent.
Exactly.
In the 4 games leading up to this game, obviously 3 of those were games that didn't matter for the standings, but he was shooting in the 20s for his field goal percentage. The thing on Jalen has never been, well, he can't have a big blow-up game. It's, okay, he has an 8-game stretch where he's Superman, and the next 9 games he's just a guy.
Right.
That's so one game isn't a selling point for Jalen's arrive. Now, he's got to repeat it.
Right. And we've seen him do this for stretches in the regular season several times. But now it's in a playoff series against the Golden State Warriors, who have Steph Curry, who have Draymond Green, who might have Jimmy Butler. And this is not, of all the teams in the Western Conference, the top dog. They are the ones with the most pelts on the wall. They're the old, gray-fanged, grizzled veteran, you know? They're some Viking who's just sitting out in the wilderness at age 55 looking for a good death. He's just waiting for someone to challenge him and take him out so he can go to Valhalla on the high of bloody battle.
This is Thor in Endgame when they all show up at his little hut on that some mystery planet. I don't even remember the name of the planet was, but he's sitting there with one arm just farming, waiting for people to show up.
Right. It's something like that. That's where the Warriors are at this point in time. There are other better teams in the Western Conference. But that Jalen Green did this, he deserves a ton of credit for it. And I'm really happy for him because I really think the Steven Silas era was bad for him, and Ime Udoka has been great for him. And this is a guy who is no longer somebody who, as a young player, you can understand why you do this. When he's playing for a loser team that doesn't really have any there's no accountability anywhere under Silas, you can understand how he might get checked out during a game where he plays poorly. But the guy plays good defense as best he can. The guy's engaged on the boards. And early on in this game, when the shots weren't falling right away, he was setting up other players. He had 4 assists, I think, in the first 6 minutes, 7 minutes or something like that.
I think one of the big differences we saw from game one, in game one, he was matchup hunting, trying to get Curry on him, and he couldn't beat Curry off the dribble, which was obviously a bad look. But the other thing, he kept driving into traffic and having nowhere to go with the ball.
And he'll always do that. That's just who Jalen Green is.
I know, but in last night's game, he was finding a man who was trailing, coming, diving into the paint as well. He was finding other teammates who had wide open dunks because Jalen was drawing them in. So. Yeah, like you said, he was when the shot wasn't falling, he got got inside the paint and found his teammates for easy dunks.
I'm really happy with what we saw from him. Now, there are some other things in this game that I do have questions about. Specifically, yeah, I know that they won by 15. That did not feel like a 15-point win. Didn't it feel like it was a lot closer the whole way? I felt constantly watching that game, and not to nitpick, not to be, my favorite team growing up, they won 6 Super Bowls. And my other favorite team, they won 4 World Series. And my other favorite team, they won 2 NBA titles. Not to do that, but I'm going to do that for a second, okay? There were moments in that game where I was thinking to myself, okay, if the Warriors had anybody not named, who the hell was that guy? Patrick Silva? He's wearing 61? I'm not even sure what his name is. Multiple reporters, and I'm not going to lie, I think I was a victim of racism last night, being told that I can't have thoughts on what the Rockets do as far as their media availability because I didn't go to all the regular season games, but also saying, how dare I say, what, all white people look the same? Who the hell was this guy last night? Someone said I looked like him. Unbelievable.
Who do you look like?
I looked like that guy for the Warriors who scored, Pat Spencer, my bad.
Oh.
Who had 11 points off the bench, is wearing 61. Because he had a beard stash? That is racism. Not all white. I don't see color, by the way. But not all white people look the same, okay? Is Pat Spencer white? He might be black. He might be Asian.
Okay.
I truly don't know. He could be Arabian. He could be a Turk. He could be something. I don't know. But I was upset that I was compared to him. We have different color hair. And I don't see color, but I know that we have different color hair. Paul, you sound like a crazy hypocrite because you're kind of going back and forth waffling here. Shut up! Okay?
Yeah, you look nothing like him.
F that guy, but that guy's coming off the bench, and that guy's like doing 11 points here. This is a Warriors team that is very, very close to the bottom of Western Conference teams. That's what I'm trying to say. And there were moments in this game where even though Pat Spencer and who the hell is this guy? Gui Santos? And who the hell is this guy? Quinton Post? There were moments where it felt like the Warriors thought to themselves, you know what? We're not going to win this one. Let's just play random creative players from NBA 2K 10 seasons into a franchise mode that you've never heard of. That's where I was. I'm like, who the hell are these guys? So, listen, Rockets, they deserve credit for the win. There's a lot of things I think that can be cleaned up. Good thing that the Rockets have Ime Udoka as their head coach.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a reason why the Warriors were a game under 500 before the Jimmy Butler trade. Because that roster outside of Curry before the Butler trade was ass.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bunch of randos. I mean, Draymond is Draymond, but he can't score. I mean,
Right.
we every time Draymond jacks up a jump shot, unless it's the like the very specific corner three that he can hit, we're all celebrating when he puts up a jump shot because we know he can't shoot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a point early in the second quarter where the broadcast mentioned that Steve Kerr had already played 12 players in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, and usually in the playoffs, it's like an 8-9 man rotation max.
I got the sense that early in this game, the Warriors accepted, we've gotten the split. Jimmy Butler's hurt. Let's just make sure our players are as rested as possible going forward. So the Rockets deserve credit for the win. Jalen Green deserves credit for this performance, but he's going to have to do that again, and the Rockets have to play better than that. And I know we're talking about a 15-point victory, but I think if we're being honest with ourselves, they probably should have won that game by 25 to 30 points. Not that it matters. A win's a win. But I felt like there were a lot of things to clean up. Sengun's got to be better with the ball underneath the basket. You got to put those shots in. Ime Thompson, some really dumb fouls. I'm not going to get mad at him about the Jimmy Butler foul. I think that was just a fluke play where he got shoved into Jimmy Butler by Steven Adams, who pushed him through Draymond Green, who was holding him back. I've watched the replay a million times. I'm right. Everyone else who has a different take on it, I'm sorry. Draymond didn't shove him. Steven Adams kind of shoved him. Ime Thompson didn't mean to do that.